James and Jennifer Crumley, docket numbers 21006-651 and 21006-652. Cannot appearances on the record, starting with the prosecutor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Karen McDonald on behalf of the people.
Thank you, Marquise, on behalf of the people.
Good afternoon, Shannon Smith on behalf of Jennifer Crumley.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Marielle Lehman on behalf of James Crumley.
And are we ready to proceed with the preliminary examination?
I am, Your Honor. The prosecutor calls Amanda Holland to the stand.
Please raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear any testimony you're going to give will be the penalty of perjury? You may ask you to scoot up a little bit closer to the microphone. Please keep your voice up. Verbalize all responses to all questions. And if you are comfortable, you can take your mask off. Okay. We do have the plexiglass around on both sides, so it's totally up to you. All right, I'm going to ask you to state and spell both your first and last name for the court reporter.
Amanda, A-M-A-N-D-A. Holland, H-O-L-L-A-N-D.
I'm sorry, H-O-L-L.
A-N-D.
Thank you.
Okay, Amanda, just if you try to match the volume of my voice, then you should be fine so everybody can hear you. You're employed at a real estate management company?
Yes.
And what is your title or position there?
Administrative assistant.
Okay, and who are you an assistant to? One person or more than one person?
One person.
And who's that?
Andrew Smith.
Okay, and where is your, do you have an office or a desk?
A desk.
Is it cubicle or just,
I would say a cubicle.
okay. And do you know Jennifer Crumley?
Yes.
Do you know James Crumley?
No.
And do you see Jennifer Crumley in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Can you describe something she's wearing for the court?
A striped top.
Okay. May the record reflect that she's properly identified Jennifer Crumley.
No objection.
So noted.
How close in proximity is your workstation was your workstation to Jennifer's?
Very close, across the hall.
All right. And was she in an office or a cubicle?
An office.
Okay. And were you and Jennifer and are you and Jennifer friends?
No.
Okay. How would you describe your relationship?
Coworkers, friendly coworkers.
Did you ever socialize with her outside the office?
No.
And did you have opportunities to interact with her on a daily basis?
At work?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And would you share personal details about your lives together?
On occasion.
To each other?
Yes.
Okay. Who did more of the sharing, you or Jennifer?
Jen.
Okay. And did she share with you any personal problems that she was having?
Yes.
Okay, can you give me an example of something? You have to speak up really loud, or take your mask off so we can see. But you can keep the mask on. We just need to hear you.
Marital issues.
Okay. And did you know who her husband was? Did she talk about him by name?
Yes.
And who was that?
James.
Okay. And when did that come up?
Occasionally.
Approximately what year, what month?
2021. She spoke with him occasionally, just, throughout the time I've known him, but more in detail over 2021.
Okay. And is this something that she would talk to you about because she was upset or in passing?
Both.
All right. And what, aside from things that she said to you, were there any other signs that there was a dispute or conflict between James and Jennifer?
Outside of her talking to me about it?
Yes.
There would be loud phone calls occasionally, but that was about it.
I'm sorry, what?
Loud phone calls occasionally, but other than that, no.
Loud phone calls that she would keep the door open?
Sometimes.
And-
Usually it would be shut or almost shut, but you could still hear through the door.
You could still hear the conversation behind a closed door?
Yes.
Okay. What, you said they were having marital issues. What exactly did she tell you?
That both her and James had been seeing other people outside of their marriage.
And was that something she was happy about?
Not at first, but then it didn't seem like it was an issue.
Okay, did she tell you that they were still together?
They had separated for a moment, but then it sounded like they had gotten back together.
And when they separated, do you remember when, about a month or year that was?
It was 2021, but I don't recall the other month.
Did they separate households?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. And was there any other indicator to you that there were other relationships going on than just with her husband?
Yes.
What was that?
She had spoken about it to me. There was someone that she had...
Your Honor, I would object as to relevancy this time.
Respect to relevancy.
Yes, Your Honor. The defendants owed a duty to the community to prevent their son, who they had every reason to believe and saw was a danger. What they did and didn't do, what they spent their time doing, what they exposed their son to is absolutely material and probative under 401 and pursuant to People versus Mills.
Your Honor, there is no duty owed to community members for just every person in public. So I don't believe that's a proper response, but more importantly, there is no duty owed to a community that the prosecutor argues exists.
In terms of the question itself, whether or not there was some type of extramarital relationship between the parties and a duty owed to the community, I don't know that that is intertwined. However, as far as the relevancy goes to the ultimate issue of this particular case, I'm overruling the objection. You can go ahead and answer the question.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, just one moment. Your Honor, I do just want to, to make a good record, the duty owed here is to protect the community from their son intentionally harming somebody when they knew he was preoccupied with violent material, that he had access to a gun, he could use it when he wanted to, and he was disturbed. It's a parental duty. It goes far beyond careless. It's gross negligence, and there's absolutely a duty. And I didn't get a chance to tie that together, but I'll move on. What was the indicator to you that there was another relationship going on outside Jennifer Crumbley's marriage?
She spoke to me about it.
Okay. Did you notice anything prior to that?
I didn't notice anything, no.
Okay. What did she say?
She had told me that she had been seeing somebody else.
And did she tell you who that person was?
No.
And did she tell you when she saw that person?
After the fact, one time she did, yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
There was a point where I had noticed that she wasn't there in the morning, and she had mentioned that she had seen a man in the morning during work hours.
What do you mean you noticed she wasn't there? Was it before she was supposed to come into work?
I typically got in after her. I would notice that she had been there, her light was on and everything, but she was not there. It would be about an hour until I would see her afterwards.
Did you ask her about that, or did she just...
I didn't ask, but she had mentioned, errands at first, and then she had mentioned about a week after that she was seeing somebody else.
And where would did she say where she would go during those hours?
She said that this person would pick her up, and they would go across the street from our office.
To where?
Costco?
And did she say what they were doing?
Not directly, no.
Okay. And what did Jennifer say about, well, first of all, did she talk about her son very often?
No, not very often.
What did she talk about other than her marital issues?
A lot of it was about the horses. She would go there a lot after work, or she would say that she would go there a lot after work. She talked about, she had purchased a new horse.
You have to keep your voice up, remember.
And then a lot of yard work, a lot of housework.
Okay.
I'm sorry, so I didn't catch that last part. She what?
She would talk about a lot of yard work and housework she was doing.
Yard work and housework.
Did she say whether or not her son was aware of these marital issues?
Not directly, no. He would overhear fights occasionally, but I don't know if they've heard anything else.
Okay. Do you follow Jennifer Crumbly on social media?
We're friends on Facebook, yes.
Okay. And did you ever see a post about their son and how they bought their son a gun for Christmas, early Christmas present?
I didn't see the post initially, no.
Okay. So you didn't see it prior to November 30th?
No, I
Okay.
saw it on November 30th.
Did she ever talk to you about guns?
No.
Okay. Do you have a suspicion about why she didn't mention that if she's mentioning a lot of other things?
Your Honor, I would object as to speculation.
I'll rephrase. Do you know why?
No.
Okay. You did at some point get an opportunity to look at the post?
Yes.
Okay, and when was that?
The day, on November 30th.
Okay, so let's go to November 29th, the day before this terrible event occurred. Did you see Jennifer on November 29th?
Yes.
And was there anything unusual that occurred that day?
She mentioned that she got a message from the school, but she didn't go or do anything, I don't think.
Okay. Did she say what the message was?
No.
Did she seem concerned in any way?
No.
How would you describe her demeanor?
Normal, calm.
Okay. Did she say what she was going to do with regard to that message, or what she was going to do after work at all?
No.
Okay. And did she mention anything about what her son was doing recently around that time?
No.
Okay. Did Jennifer Crumbly ever talk to you about how she described her son?
She would say he's quiet. She didn't go into detail. I think I would gather that he was quiet and kind of reserved from what she said.
Did she ever mention to you that he was having a difficult time?
Only when his friends had gone away. That was the only time I heard that there may be some trouble with him.
Okay, and did she say specifically what concerned her about his friend going away?
She was concerned he would be lonely, that it was his only main friend, maybe only friend, from what I could tell. She was just concerned that he would be alone.
Okay, and particularly did she say when she was concerned that he would be alone?
No, not particularly.
Okay, how often did Jennifer and James Crumbly go to the barn?
Often, I would say maybe almost every day.
Your Honor, objection is to the foundation for this witness's knowledge about that.
Did Jennifer talk to you about, I'll move on. Did Jennifer talk to you about going to the barn?
Yes,
How often did she talk to you about going to the barn?
almost daily.
All right, so was that in the context of she's just bringing it up, or is she talking about her plans after work?
Well,
Okay.
a lot of the times her plans after work, she would leave a little earlier than I would, and she would usually say she was going to the barn.
Okay, and you spoke to her daily?
Yes,
Okay, so about how often did she go to the barn?
almost daily,
Okay, and did Ethan go with her?
not to my knowledge.
Did she ever express a concern about her son not going with her?
No.
Okay. The next day, November 30th, do you remember that day?
Yes.
Okay, what's the first time that you talked to Jennifer, if you remember?
In the morning, I went in, I popped in, made coffee, and on my way back to my desk, I stopped and said good morning to her. We talked briefly.
Is that something that you would ordinarily do?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point, did you become aware of a call about her son?
Yes.
And how did you become aware?
She took a phone call and I could hear it.
You could hear, I'm sorry, what?
I could hear her talking.
Okay, and do you know who she was talking to?
James,
Okay, and what was the subject of the call? What were they talking about?
he had called her, or no, I'm sorry, I apologize, I think I mixed up the calls. This was later in the day. The first call was from the school.
Okay,
That there was an issue at the school.
And-
That's all I could gather from the call.
okay, what did she do after that?
She called James.
And what did she tell James?
She was asking him if he was able to come to the school.
Okay,
Check on this situation.
did she say how she felt about going to the school?
No,
Okay, did she say whether she wanted to go or didn't want to go?
no.
Okay. Was she trying to ask James to go instead of her, or they were to come too?
It sounded like she wanted James to go, and then there was another call after that one, and then that's when she decided to go as well.
Do you know what changed her mind?
No.
Okay. And at some point, did she leave?
Yes,
Okay. And did she come back to work that day?
yes.
All right. When she came back to work, what did she tell you?
She came over to my desk. She showed me, she said that she felt like a failure as a parent, and she showed me a photo of what Ethan had drawn at school.
Okay, and that was previously admitted. Do you need to see it to describe it, or do you remember the photo?
I remember the photo.
Okay. How would you describe the writings on the worksheet?
Disturbing.
Okay. And what was your response?
I told her I thought that was scary.
I'm sorry. You said what?
I told her I thought it was scary.
Okay.
To draw that.
And what was her response?
She agreed.
Okay. Did she talk to you at all about what the meeting was about, or what the school wanted her to do?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said that that they were concerned with his drawing, that they were concerned that he may be feeling badly at school and that something could happen. She said that they were requiring him to engage in counseling and that he needed to do that quickly. That's the extent.
Did you talk about?
Sorry, I didn't hear your last part.
That was it. That was all she said.
Okay. What was her demeanor when she's talking to you about this?
My initial thought was, it seemed a little sarcastic, the way that she said that she felt like a failure. As she was talking, it was a little concerned.
Okay. Did you have a conversation at some point about whether or not she should go and get her son from school?
I felt I would have brought him home.
Okay, wait, so hold up. Did you have a conversation about that?
Yes.
Tell me, what did you say?
I said it would be nice for her to take him for a day to, go see a movie or go have lunch or do something with him.
On that day?
Yes, on that day. The day that I said she should have brought him home.
And why did you say that?
I felt it was a disturbing photo, and I thought this child needed to be around the family. That's what I would have done, and I told her I thought that's what she should have done.
Okay, what was her response?
She told me that she thought she would just take him to the barn that night and, give him some work and give him a little something to do after school.
And what did you say to that?
I said, I think it would be good to have some time with you, just, make him feel seen.
Had you ever been told that he didn't want to go to the barn?
She had mentioned that he didn't like going, but she thought it would be good for him.
And
that day.
what did you say?
I just listened. I
Okay.
think I said listen.
All right. At some point, what happened? What was the next thing you can remember on that day?
After that conversation, she went back to her office. I went back to work at my desk. And a little while after, I don't remember all the time, she had received a call, and I believe it was from James, that he got an alert from the school about an active shooter. And she started to panic in her office. And I think we all did hearing the call. And that's when she left and ran out quickly.
Okay. You said that at one point she told you that she and James separated but didn't really move out. And then you said at some point they got back together. Do you know when that was?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Judge. You have to say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know when that was, or how do you know that?
She had mentioned that they were having the issues. They decided to separate temporarily, it seemed. And then around their anniversary, she came back from a trip with him, and she said that they were going to work on it.
And when was that? When was that? In the fall?
I don't recall.
Okay. And where was the trip?
I don't know the exact location. I know it was a casino, but I don't know which one.
All right. Did she tell you whether or not they took their son along for the weekend to the casino?
No.
No, she didn't tell you, or no, they didn't take him?
No, she didn't tell me.
Okay. Do you know if they took him?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you ever hear Jennifer talk to you or say in passing that she was taking Ethan to the doctor,
No.
to the therapist?
No.
Did she ever talk to you about the horses needing medical treatment?
Yes.
What would she say?
There's some, I don't remember exactly what was wrong with them, but she had mentioned that there was something going on.
Did that happen once, more than once?
More than once.
Okay. One moment. Nothing further.
Any questions, you get to
Thank you. Hello. I want to go back through some of your testimony and just make sure that I've understood it correctly. So if I say something wrong, can you please let me know?
Yes.
You were the administrative assistant to Andy Smith, is that correct?
Yes.
So you worked in the same office Jennifer Crumbley worked out of?
Yes, the same company. Yes.
I'm sorry, the same
The same company?
the same company, and your desk was nearby Miss Crumbley's office,
Yes.
and you and Miss Crumbley, you would not say you were friends with one another, correct?
Yes.
But you talked about little things back and forth when you would see each other,
Yes.
always friendly conversation,
Yes.
and I imagine over time you talked about a number of different topics, correct?
Yes.
So when you're talking about the topics today, being their marriage and separating and things like that, it's fair to say there were topics discussed, lots of other topics that have not been pinpointed today, correct?
Yes.
There were discussions about camping trips the family took,
Yes.
conversations about James's mother dying,
Yes, I do. Yes.
conversations about meals Jennifer was cooking,
No.
conversations about food pictures that were up on Facebook.
I saw one photo.
I guess my point is there were conversations about lots of different topics. It was not like only about Jennifer's marriage did you two speak, correct?
Correct.
And in terms of Jennifer's marriage and what you were told, it's fair to say that Jennifer didn't sit down with you and give you a play-by-play on everything that was happening within her marriage, correct?
Correct.
It's more like you would catch bits of it here and there, correct?
She went into detail about certain issues.
So there's conversations you had where she went into detail, but it's also fair to say there were other times where you would hear her on the phone with James.
Yes.
It's fair to say that other people in the office may have been talking about Jennifer and James.
No.
It's fair to say that although Jennifer did tell you things, this was not like a daily event where you sat down and discussed every intricacy of her marriage, correct?
Correct.
So there was certainly a time where Jennifer and James, your understanding was that they were going to get separated or separated,
Yes.
and there was discussion about Jennifer possibly seeing somebody else at that time.
Yes.
You don't know all the details about seeing someone else?
No. No.
And the most you knew is that during work hours, Jennifer would not be at her desk, correct?
That's not all I knew, but yes, I did know that.
You testified that you would notice her light would be on as if she had been at her desk, and then she would be gone from the building, is that correct?
Yes,
And that you were told by Jennifer she was running errands at some point in time?
yes,
And specifically, you were told at some point that she had gone to Costco with another person?
yes,
And anytime that you were aware of her being gone, these times that you're talking about, those were all within the workday, is that correct?
yes,
So you testified that there was a day that Jennifer got a message from the school, is that correct?
yes.
And that message from the school was a voicemail?
I don't know.
Did you hear the message?
No,
Do you know anything about what the message said?
no,
Did Jennifer tell you the contents of the message?
no,
Did Jennifer tell you how she felt about the message?
no.
Do you know anything about the message?
I just know it came from the school.
So you don't know the contents of the message?
No,
So you would have no ability to evaluate how Jennifer was reacting in conjunction with that message, correct?
the message on the 29th?
Yes.
No, I don't know.
Okay. So when you testified that Jennifer did not seem concerned, it's fair to say you don't even know what the message on the 29th was about, correct?
Correct.
And Jennifer expressed to you that a message had been left by the school?
Yes,
And it's fair to say that Jennifer had never told you that at any time before, correct?
like before that day?
Yeah.
No, that was the first message I knew about from the school on the 29th.
Okay, so when she got the message from the 29th and mentioned it to you, that was certainly out of the ordinary, correct?
Yes,
And Jennifer telling you about it appeared she cared that she had gotten the message from the school.
I don't know.
Your understanding of Ethan was that he was a quieter kid, is that correct?
Yes,
And that he had a friend who had moved away suddenly, so he was lonely.
yes,
You were aware that were you aware that he had a difficult time when his grandmother died?
no,
Were you aware of Ethan's extracurricular activities?
no,
Were you aware when Ethan was going to become a referee for the soccer team?
no,
Were you aware of summer classes that Ethan took?
no,
Your knowledge, you never met Ethan in person,
no,
and so really your knowledge about Ethan is very limited from what you heard from his mother, is that correct?
yes,
And Ethan was not something or someone she talked about with you at the office frequently, correct?
correct.
When you testified that Jennifer was at the barn daily, is that your perception of what she was doing, or do you have actual knowledge that she went to the barn every day?
It was almost every day that she would tell me she was going after work.
Almost every day?
Yes,
And so based on the fact that she went to the barn frequently, did you have any other awareness of what she was doing at night or on weekends, things like that?
no,
Through her Facebook page, would you see the camping trips and family trips they took?
okay, yes,
Okay, so you were aware that we do not dispute it. Jennifer loves horses, correct?
yes,
And she would post pictures from the horses and the farm,
yes,
pictures of her family camping and on vacation.
yes,
You testified that you saw the picture of the targets that were shot, that were posted on Facebook, correct?
yes,
On November 30th, you testified that you spoke to Jennifer briefly when she came in, is that right?
Yes,
And that you could hear a phone call from James about a school shooter, is that correct?
yes.
Was that the first thing on your radar about something going on at the Oxford High School?
At the school in general or with Ethan?
Either. So at the school in general?
That was the first time with the school, but I did hear the call right prior when she was being called to the school.
Okay, but that was the first you were aware that there was a shooting or a larger scale incident at Oxford?
Yes.
At what point did you see the photograph of the drawing Ethan made on the math paperwork?
When did I see it first?
Yeah.
When she returned from the meeting at the school.
So that was the day before, correct?
No, I saw the photo on the 30th.
You saw the photo on the 30th?
Yes.
Okay. And when you testified that you found it to be disturbing and scary, correct?
Yes.
Jennifer also seemed concerned about that drawing on that math paperwork, correct?
Yes.
She was talking about whether or not he would stay at school or if he was coming home that day, correct?
No.
She ultimately told you that they left him at school that day. You're aware of that, correct?
Yes. She told.
Did you have conversations with Jennifer about why they left him at school?
Yes.
Were you aware that the school told Jennifer he was of no threat to anyone?
Objection, Your Honor, that is not a fact and evidence
Response.
anywhere.
I'm asking if she's aware.
You can answer the question, go ahead.
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating it?
Were you aware